following podcast is recorded and produced by Emerge, a media creators co-op, in affiliation with the network at bicbp-radio.com.
Hello and welcome back to the Next of Kin podcast. I'm your host, Rich, joined by my son, Christian.
What's up?
How are you doing?
Good.
It's Saturday morning, which is not a normal time for us to come over here and
Don't
talk.
have a normal time. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but we never come.
It's like, what are you?
We never come on
We've
Saturday
never recorded
mornings.
this at the same time, like 2 weeks in a row. I don't think.
We were consistent for a little while.
Like a year ago.
Yeah, I guess you're kind of right. Maybe you're right.
Yeah, it
You're
doesn't
always
matter.
right.
Like,
You're always right.
sure,
I know.
I know. At least you finally admitted it.
Okay, that was sarcastic.
That didn't sound like.
I was being ironic or something. I don't know
Sounded
what the
accurate.
word is. I got no big words for you. So it's been I don't know. We got a lot of weird things we're just gonna throw out to this week.
we're winging it.
The Oscars were announced.
Everyone loves those.
Well, in terms of
What do you mean? What do you mean? What are you gonna
well,
argue
in
back
terms of
against this point?
awards, at least the Oscars are.
Didn't Will Smith like smack a dude at the Oscars?
I think that was the Oscars.
Or is that something else?
I don't know. I don't watch the Oscars. I don't think anybody watches those things anymore.
That was a year ago.
Yes. What a quick year it was.
That was real. This year really
what
was
an
a
amazing
quick
year for
This year what flew by. Like I feel like since last March, like everything is just.
It's been such an exciting year.
Oh yeah.
Or something. I don't know. Yeah, nobody really watched. I mean, I'm sure there's people. That watch
it's
the
been
Oscars.
going down in viewership.
Yeah, every year they go down. All the award shows.
Well, maybe people watch this year hoping for another smacking or something.
Yeah, pretty much every year they all go down a lot, and
I still think that was planned somehow.
it is. That's a weird. It's so funny.
I
That
think
here
it
it
was
is a year later, and I don't think we've ever talked about this, but thank goodness.
Have we
'cause
not?
we maybe. I don't know. I don't remember.
We might have talked about it at the time. I don't know.
Well, I think the funny thing about that whole thing was that then someone found that scene from that movie that it's literally from that thing.
Yeah.
There's an actual that came before that everybody kind of
I don't know.
said, wasn't this really weird that it's so much like that?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But obviously, there's a lot of really. It's interesting this year. There's a lot of awards that are out and that have been nominated. And the weird thing is this year, and I don't know, it seems like more than usual, all those movies are back in the theaters again. More than usual.
I guess I feel like they always come back.
I feel like
a
they
lot of
come
the
back
Oscars
after
come
the
back.
movie comes after the awards. Usually, I feel like a lot of the movies. I mean, some of them obviously get re-released when
I
the
think there's
nominations
always
come, but
been
then a lot of them will win an Oscar and then they'll go back to the theaters.
Well, as much as I'm saying nobody watched the Oscars, I still think there is a niche market of people that see what gets nominated for an Oscar and then go and see it. Again, I don't know what movies you're necessarily talking about.
I'm talking about
for a
a lot
movie
of
like
them.
Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think that's what it's called. I that one makes sense to put back in because that one's just been almost on an upward trajectory since it came out. If that makes sense,
Right.
that movie almost got more traction. Well, right when it came out, it got a lot of traction, and then as people got it on streaming and stuff,
Right.
it made money as well in theaters too. And that movie ended up with I think the most nominations actually. So which I'm very happy about. You watched that. Well, you watched it with me months ago.
Yeah,
for the first
and
time.
then I rewatched
But then you
it.
rewatched it more.
I rewatched
focused.
it with Zach.
Yeah, you watched more focus. You watched the extended one actually, which I like a little bit less. But
Yeah, I feel like there was too much stuff.
I think
that,
it's just it takes a
it
bit too
took
long.
It was too
Yeah.
long. I mean, I don't mind long movies, but I felt that movie was just kind of maybe longer than it needed to be.
Yeah, it's not like that the
But
the shorter movies.
Everything
the
Everywhere at
the
All
third
at
act
Once
works
is
better.
back in the theaters.
Yeah.
The Banshees of Inisherin are back.
That's
which
some Irish.
I actually want to see that.
I want to watch that
I
too
think we
because Barry
should.
Keoghan's apparently good in that.
Yeah, I
He's
heard
from
that's
Eternals,
really
and he's a
good.
really good actor just as it is. So.
I do want to see the Fablemans, but I think I'll just wait for that to come out on TV.
Yeah, that's the Spielberg thing.
I mean, I love Spielberg. He was like
He's getting whipped. He's not winning anything here with that. I don't think.
I don't really. I mean,
I don't think at least.
to be honest, I don't think he cares. I really
probably
don't think.
not,
I
no.
don't think he really cares. Let's be honest. Does Spielberg care at this point in his life? He makes the movies he just
Mm-hmm.
wants to make, and
What
I
is
mean,
inter-
this was a movie that he obviously. This movie is semi-autobiographical.
What's interesting is people were
you
just
know.
doing kind of rough math about the votes in their head, and like weirdly, given like the amount of like, because Black Panther, Wakanda Forever pops up here a little bit as well for a lot of like the production type stuff.
Right.
That movie seems to have done pretty well, like in voting. Like even for like the bigger categories, like there's some like seems to be like at least from what I was seeing, and maybe this is completely wrong, but it seemed like Black Panther, like Wakanda Forever, was up near like maybe like 11th or 12th in like Best Picture race, so just barely like not making it into that category. It seems like.
Well, looking at Best Picture, I mean, you had.
And then what's her name is real quick. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're right. No, I didn't mean to
what's her
interrupt
name
you.
from Black Panther? What's her name?
The supporting actress.
Yeah, supporting. Let me find it. I literally have Angela Bassett.
Angela
Angela
Bassett,
Bassett's the first MCU actor now to get a nomination for an Oscar for an MCU film. So
It's to be interesting.
I
I
think
think
that's a pretty decent
Well,
first
let-
one
let-
to,
yeah, like-
to have. She's immense in that movie. So
I have the thing open. So you have Angela Bassett, you have the woman from The Whale, Hong Chow, you have Carrie Condor, you have Jamie Lee Curtis, and then you also have Stephanie.
Sue, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have
Well,
two
she's
people from the
I hope
same
she
movie.
wins. I hope the young one. She's the villain in like everything.
I mean, if I go
Everywhere
through
All at
this
Once.
list based on just my personal opinion, the way things go,
Yeah.
based on the Oscars, I think you can take Carrie Condor out because and Jamie Lee Curtis out. I don't think either one of them are going to get
I
it.
think you could take
If someone from
Yeah.
if someone from the movie's going to get it, I mean, I guess you could get the Jamie Lee Curtis thing
I don't
because
see
she's
why
older.
you would give it to her character versus.
I just don't
She's
see
good
her
in that
getting
movie,
the
and she
votes.
plays some really weird
Yeah.
roles. Because
Right.
she's even in that one like weird vision when they have like the weird hands
Yeah,
and
like
stuff,
the
which
hot dog
is a
hands.
weird role to play.
Right.
Like and to keep like your composure and make it work.
Right.
But I just couldn't see them giving like it to, and she's very good in it. And even when she turns into like the kind of like the horror villain like monster at one point when she's like chasing around the two.
Right.
Like that's some weird roles, and they're.
I'm not saying she's not worth the
But
nomination.
I just don't see how you
her
can't.
winning.
You can't. No, I just don't see how you could give it to her over the other girl from the same
Right,
movie.
from the same
who's
movie.
like who literally plays like multiple versions of herself and
Right.
has to play like a multiple like a being that's simultaneously.
I think
like,
Angela Bassett has a
experiencing
really
all its
really good
personality.
chance.
She has a good chance for like
because it's Angela Bassett.
yeah.
Let's
and
put
a
it
little
this
bit of
way.
Oscar politics as well, just for like the
Yeah,
a
I
lot
mean,
of
I
Oscars end
agree
up
with
being
all that,
legacy.
yep.
And this isn't like a bad thing necessarily, but a lot of Oscars end
It's
up being
just facts.
yeah, a lot of Oscars
Yeah.
end up being like legacy Oscars, where like maybe a guy this wasn't the best role that person has ever done,
Yeah.
but it was like.
It's like a makeup
But it's
call.
their chart, like for
Yeah.
like DiCaprio's one for The Revenant, a movie that he's really good in, is often seen as that because there were better. If I remember correctly, there was guys that people thought were better that year, and he probably had better performances. But it was mostly because like the year before he didn't get Wolf of Wall Street.
It's funny
Like,
because people. It's weird because it's not like. There's all kinds of weird things, and I've read articles about this over the
Yeah.
years about the Oscars. Because you got to remember, people just vote.
and it's politics too.
So
like
if
there's like campaigns and stuff
there's
behind
campaigns,
the scenes. Like
there's the politics of it. There's the meme about if you play somebody that's real,
Yeah.
you know, or
Then
with a
you- yeah, or a
disability,
historic
you're probably
figure,
gonna
like-
win. Like if you play someone with like Asperger's,
exactly.
you're probably gonna win. Like so, there's that. Sometimes they try to like. I think there is some politics in it, like where they want to give it to. An Asian or a Palestinian or whatever, like maybe a little kid. Like I feel like there's lots of things. And then sometimes I think there's a big portion of there is that, like when Henry Fonda won, I remember for On Golden Pond, I mean, he had been nominated 8 million times. I think he was like 85 and he just won because it was the last chance to give it to Henry Fonda. So I'm not saying it's the last chance for Angela Bassett or Jamie Lee Curtis, but I feel like Angela Bassett's portrayal is really good.
I feel like
and
Bassett
it's already
makes
won
sense.
some things. And sometimes that leads to some of the stuff winning.
I just and again Hugh would be mine out of that one. Again, I haven't seen some of the other films.
Yeah, well,
but,
yeah, right, exactly.
But either way, but yeah, I
The
think
movie's
I think-
really
I wouldn't
popular,
be surprised if
which
Bassett
is-
won.
helps.
Everything. That's why I think I really have a lot of faith that Everything Everywhere All at Once is going to do well because it checks all the it literally checks all the Oscar boxes.
Yeah, I agree.
Of like because even like the star Michelle Yeoh is a very popular like actress. Don't get me wrong, but this is one of like the more like deeper, like kind of more like front and center roles that she's ever had. Even
Yeah,
like,
I mean, obviously she's done a bunch of other things too, but
and
this
and
one
she talked about how she like that they like she like loves like the two directors like Dan and Dan who also
Right.
wrote the film because they wrote it with her in mind. Obviously, I believe if I remember correctly.
I believe so.
Um,
One of the things that I love about the movie is, I mean, I love the
They
one
believed
scene.
that she could be funny. They said they
Yeah.
believed that she could be like sad. They believed like the whole range of her as an actress instead of just like kind of the things that she often gets like has been
Yeah.
typecasted into.
Well, I
being the
like that they
badass girl
even do
she
the
is.
thing where they,
Like,
they do the scene which is supposed to be ripped off from Crouching Tiger. I think,
Yeah,
which is
exactly,
hilarious.
yeah.
I like those kinds of things that the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The movie's very good. It's the best multiverse movie we've really kind of seen, right?
yeah, I think it's the most accurate for that.
I mean, in
concept
terms of
we've
what
seen.
people wanted for that concept, it's probably one. I mean, I'm sure there's something.
I mean,
else
I
I'm
literally
not
think it
thinking
like
of,
it literally
but-
took a lot of shine out of like. To the people that
It
saw
did.
it in Doctor
That's
Strange.
That's a
like,
good point.
To the
It's
people
a-
that watched it at home like a month
it's a
after,
better
like,
multiverse
oh, like,
movie
okay,
than Doctor
like,
Strange in the Multiverse. And maybe you could argue that
like,
Spider-Man,
way better. Like it understands
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is slightly better.
No, I wouldn't say that. Like,
I'm
movie
not saying
understands
that.
the
I'm just saying
concept
that
and
you could make
uses
an
the
argument.
concept of the multiverse to its fullest
Yeah.
potential we've seen thus far in the most creative ways too. Where, like,
Actually, we talked about multiverse movies. I think
and I think
probably.
the-
Hold on, let
honestly,
me
the tech
finish
in
my.
the series
Let me
is really good,
answer. Let
too,
me finish
so,
my point.
yeah.
I think if we took all the multiverse movies that we could list really quickly, we're not going to do
Yeah.
that. But if we did, I feel like Doctor Strange would come in like fifth.
I mean, like, I don't know how many multiverse
Spider-Man-
movies there are, but I like Spider-Man
Both
more
the
than I like-
Spider-Man ones are probably better multiverse movies.
Oh, I
right?
forgot about No Way Home. I forgot about
Right,
multiverse.
and I'm sure there's
Yeah.
another one out there
forgot
that
the
I
animated
would
one.
think was better too.
Well, honestly, like I would
even
do,
even
I would do-
Endgame.
I would do this.
Even the way multiverse.
Well,
is
this
used in
or Into the
Endgame is
Spider Verse.
slightly
This
better.
or Into the Spider Verse are both like
Right.
I
But they're better
I would
than-
say this is better
yeah.
than Into the Spider Verse.
Well, let's stick with the
I love
Oscars.
that movie. but-
So is
Yeah, I'll stick with the Oscars
is
at this point.
Hugh Kwan?
He's definitely winning that. There's
think
not,
he's gonna
I don't
win?
have. I actually don't even have a doubt
Short
in my mind.
round. Let's
Yeah.
go short
Yeah,
round.
he just he's got it in the bag.
It's
Like,
his year, man.
It's his like returned as an actor.
Yeah.
like it was so good, and like everyone loves that character.
Yeah.
he's just such a like also
He's
like
just so likable.
he's just so likable, and that's just kind of I think that helps.
Yeah.
Like I imagine,
Oh,
like
yeah,
you have your, a
doesn't
lot
hurt.
of it's your fellow actors and like people that like in the
It's
industry
a,
voting
it's,
for you.
and that's what, and this is in politics, but there is the feel good story of an actor coming
Yeah.
back, which is the same reason that I think when you go to best, when you go to leading actor,
Yeah.
that's why I think like
I'm glad he's getting
Brendan
a second
Fraser's
win.
got such a great
I
chance
think Brendan
for the
Fraser's
Whale.
probably got and the Whale's not even like from what I've heard the best movie. But it's one of those just like, but the guy does his thing,
Yeah.
like in as the lead. Which the problem is they don't like. It's kind of a 50-50
Right.
for that. Like sometimes like the movie will hold you back, and sometimes they'll completely remove you from it, and they'll just kind of view you in a
Right. When I go through Best Actor, I mean, I don't know Austin. I mean, I know Austin Butler is from Elvis.
I would
don't,
guess Brendan Fraser.
I don't. I mean, there's been so many damn Elvises over the
And
years.
Brendan Fraser's kind of having a return as well. Like it's a
Yeah.
little bit of a
I think Brendan Fraser's got a really good chance.
not
but
quite
I-
as big as like Kwan's,
Right.
But he's having a bit of a comeback with this and a bit of like a appreciate me for my ability type moment.
Yeah.
So
and I think I think gotta remember a lot of actors vote for this.
Yeah,
And how
exactly.
many actors wish they could have had that opportunity to come back where they were big stars and they never were stars. So we gotta remember the way actors vote. Actors kind of vote too, like what they kind of
Plus, I
they
think
vote.
I
vote.
think Colin Farrell's already
people-
an Oscar winner.
Yeah, I don't think Colin Farrell will
for
win it.
King's Speech, I think it is.
Yeah, but I think Bill Knightley has a pretty
Austin
good chance
Butler,
too.
I don't know how good he was. I know he was pretty good. As
Everybody
Elvis, but I
thinks
just
he
can't
was
imagine
the only
Elvis
good
like
thing.
winning it this
Yeah,
year.
I just
'Cause
feel
they've
like-
given a lot of them to like that role already before. Like haven't like. I guess they didn't give it to like Edgerton for like, but they gave it to like the guy who played Mercury like 3 years ago.
I
So
I
I feel
just
like you'd be
don't
doing the
think-
same thing again, right? You're just kind of giving it to
Well,
the same.
again,
like,
that's the
role.
meme that people that
I know that
play,
happens all the time, but
That's the meme that people that play somebody who died, it tends to win, like, or is a famous person or something like that. I mean, but I also have heard really good things about Bill Knightley, who's the bow tie guy in the
Oh, yeah.
museum and Doctor
Yeah, I know
Who,
what you're
which
talking about.
everybody, all the people who watch this podcast probably would know that.
I've seen a bunch of things.
You know who does well? He's an amazing actor, and they were lucky to get him in that episode of Doctor Who. But I mean, ironically, all the sci-fi people all remember him for that.
I've seen him from other stuff.
Oh, he's been in a million things. I mean, look if you look him up. I mean, he's a guy that's never won either. So you know, you could
I wouldn't be
you could
surprised if
certainly
they
see.
Yeah,
you
for
know.
weirdly enough, for like main actor, it's not. It doesn't like your film doesn't need to be like huge.
No,
at all. Like,
that's what's cool about the. I mean, that's the one thing I do like about the Oscars.
at least for the Oscars, like the actor stuff.
Let's go to
like,
Best
it's kind of-
Picture. I mean, I
well,
do.
so, like, what do we think that for actress like
Oh, actress.
do we think
Sorry.
Michelle Yeoh is gonna just get it, or because she got the Golden Globe?
Let me look it up. So you got Kate Blanchett. I don't think will win it.
I've heard good things about Tar. Like out of all the ones,
I heard
there,
Michelle Williams is really, really good in The Fabelmans.
but I just feel like it's not gonna. It's like a Spielberg. I feel like it's just the boring choice. Like anything Fabelmans.
and
just
the other
feels like
ones
the
I don't
boring
know
choice.
anything about. So I think.
Yeah.
I
mean,
think
Anna
here's my
Anna
thing.
de Armas is a really good actress. She's like she's
Yeah.
the
No,
hologram in like
right.
Blade Runner. But Blonde was a big, not controversial, but that was a weird movie from like a lot of the things I heard
I
about
feel
it.
like Michelle
So-
Yeoh's got it only because that movie seems to be so much so mainstream that so many people seem to like it.
And it's a bit of a legacy one
And,
as well.
and I do think there's a little bit of a legacy thing there. It's a chance to give it to an actress that's been around a really long time that's never won anything, and it's really never got a chance to be taken seriously. So I think she's got a
I think
really,
they have a
really,
decent chance of like
and that's why Star Trek's real lucky to have her in their universe for Section 61 that's coming out, 31 eventually that's coming out if it ever comes out.
Yeah.
Going Best Picture, I mean, All Quiet on the Western Front, which is supposedly really good. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, we gotta watch it. It was long as hell. We gotta watch it.
Yeah, we were going to watch it the one night.
That's
Speaking
up
of
for
long
cinematography
movies,
and a bunch
also
of other
nominated
stuff
for
as well.
Best Picture is Avatar.
Which is, so they just did the same. I love that they just did the same thing they did with the original one, which is like, well, because I don't like if it's better. Sure, we still haven't seen it, by the way.
Yeah, a quick update. The Avatar 2
we
watch
can't bring ourselves
update.
to say. Well,
I just don't
They closed
care.
our theater, bro. Like we're not going all the way out there to like to watch Avatar. Like I'm not doing it.
It's
like,
a half an hour drive to go
I'm not doing it.
watch.
It's not a half hour.
It's
but,
well
like,
with
it's
the
not-
bridges, you never know.
But
Like,
still, like-
you got to get there. You got to, like I don't know. Like I got 45 minutes in the car to watch a 4-hour movie. I'm getting home at 2 a.m. I don't know. I just like.
They're just doing the same thing. There's no way that's one of the 10 best films of the
It's
year.
not.
Like it's just,
It's
just
not.
Like,
It's we like popular movies in the Oscars
like
too.
it's just like a. It's for
Well,
like
let me go
it's
through
for the
the-
technology.
let me
which
go-
is fine.
let
Like,
me go
I'm
through
fine
the
with
list.
there being a technology.
Let me
pick.
go through the list.
Like-
So then you also have the Banshees of Inisherin. You got Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once. You got Fablemans. You got Tar, Maverick, Triangle of Sadness, and Women Talking. So here's the goofy thing.
Why is Maverick?
Maverick's in there for the same reason.
Why is I get it.
Let me
Maverick was
give
good,
you
but
my
he's not a
background and
Best
my
Picture
research on
nominee.
this. Once they expanded and they
that's
put all these extra movies in
Yeah.
for
They picked, like, 2 blockbusters
They
a year.
put 2 blockbusters in.
It's like
Then
it's-
they put.
It's like their one way of trying.
I
to get
know
people
the
to
way
watch
they
it.
do. I read an article, and this is the way it ends up. You end up with 2 movies
Yeah.
that were really popular,
Yeah.
which is obviously Avatar
but
and
aren't gonna
Maverick.
win.
Which aren't going to win
They're just for like
because
pandering.
Black Panther was one too.
Yeah, that
right?
was the third
That
one
was
that
the
they
first-
just missed out
right.
because those 2 got in.
Then
Yes,
you get
exactly.
2 that are mainstream, but they aren't necessarily super popular, and that's Elvis and All Quiet on the Western Front because that's been a lot of talk. Then you get all the other ones,
The ones that are like just indies, and then like
the ones that
the best of the indies.
Yeah, like I'm gonna take my early favorite here, and I'm just gonna say it's Women Talking.
My thing is with the best picture, it's like it's always been just like a weird one for like the last like 3-4 years, right? Like it's
Yeah.
always like an off.
That's why I'm
like
going
they
Women
gave it to like
Talking.
the White Savior one the
Yeah,
one year.
yeah.
They gave it to like which I know wasn't that wasn't the point of the movie, but like still like it would compare
Like nobody saw Triangle of Sadness. I had to look it up
no.
to see what it was. I didn't even know when it came out. Other ones I'd heard of. I mean, obviously, Fablemans will not win.
I don't think
Elvis
so.
isn't going to win because there's too many other problems with the movie from what I've heard.
Yeah, that movie isn't like the best as far as I'm aware.
But again, I think they like to do that whole thing.
What won last year? I don't even remember.
I don't.
Coda?
I'm not looking that up. That's not a tangent I feel like going on.
Okay, so we've had
We talked about
so we had
production
Moonlight.
design.
Oh, I'm going for 2017 on Moonlight, which is like that probably from what I've seen that deserves it, but nobody saw it, but it would deserve it. Actually, no, people saw that one a little bit more, but that was the whole weird fiasco with like they announced the wrong movie or whatever.
Right, something like that.
Shape of Water, I forgot about that. That's what's his name though, so that makes sense.
The greatest sci-fi movie ever made.
I don't know, but
That people say that all the time. I'm
Green
like,
Book,
I'm not
which is like a
watching
travesty because that was like it was a fine, a decent film, but like there was way better stuff that year, and it is a white savior movie. Parasite, I fucking love Parasite. I'm gonna make you watch Parasite. Actually, Parasite is is a movie like when you see the Best
about
Picture movie
parasites.
and you're like this is good, but like is it really Best Picture? Parasite is like oh yeah, like this is like the best
maybe
picture.
tonight when I'm
like
bored, when I get home, I'll watch Parasite.
that's like a South Korean
Okay.
film, but it's sick as hell.
Yeah, production design. We were trying to figure out
And
like
Coda last year, which
we were
everything
trying to
else is
figure
fun,
out
but-
where like because obviously Avatar's got a nomination for production design, so it should win.
Yeah.
Unless it's All Quiet on the Western Front or Babylon, because those are both really good.
I mean, I think everything everywhere all at once is a decent chance again at that category. I sounded like a broken record here.
Right.
All Quiet on the Western Front, given what it is, like always has a chance. Like war movies like that, and if that one's as good as apparently it is, and as visceral apparently like some, but that might end up getting more like effects.
All right, let's talk about the one we actually care about.
What?
Visual effects.
I mean, what's even in the visual effects?
All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar, The Batman, Black Panther, and Top Gun. It'll be Avatar.
Let me go through real quick.
All Quiet on the Western Front,
Visual
Avatar, The Batman, Black Panther, and Top Gun.
I mean, the Black Panther's like the worst one here.
Yeah, it kind of is.
By a lot.
Yeah.
It's like by like
Because it's,
and that movie,
it's
there's not even bad CG
you
in
know
that
what
movie,
it is?
but it's not as good.
It's not
like,
bad CG. It's just the same
just-
CG
yeah, it's
they
the
always
same one
do.
being used
There's
again. This is
nothing
the
ground.
aesthetic,
There's
yeah,
nothing groundbreaking in it.
Except for
Obviously-
the underwater stuff was not bad, but like that was like.
Okay,
But
but
even then
when you
again, I
go
assume
through
it's
these
not
five,
anywhere near, like,
I
Avatar,
don't know.
so-
Even Batman even made it because I think I do like the visual effects in Batman, but I thought for cinematography. But I guess I
They
don't
use the
understand.
volume a lot in the Batman, and
Okay.
there's a lot of weird stuff going on.
So
with, like,
obviously,
sets
Avatar, we
and
don't need to talk
backgrounds.
about that because obviously it's got a good chance. All Quiet on the Western Front, we need to see that to
think
get a
the-
real
yeah,
sense.
the three that
it's
are
funny
interesting are
because I'm
Maverick.
pretty sure that to 1917 got
Mm-hmm.
a nomination for this too. Because of the way they filmed it and everything, it's funny to me, and I'm really hoping that it gets a real look at would be Top Gun Maverick because I feel like the way they filmed that movie was just freaking amazing.
What are you
The
talking about?
question-
You're talking about a different category.
visual
now, right?
effects, visual effects.
Well, why wouldn't like Top? I feel like Top Gun should be like.
It's not.
Well, I understand.
They don't.
Well,
They don't.
Avatar's-
They don't
Avatar's
do it
going
that
to
way.
win, and it's a default because, and again, and it should win. They spent over a decade perfecting the technology. That's why it took so damn long. So if
Right.
it didn't win, I would have been disappointed. Like if you,
Right.
if you could, like, so no, even if like All Quiet on the Western Front and Top Gun have both done like really creative things with the visual effects this year, which they both have. I know for a fact they have. You just can't.
Well, yeah.
It can't beat like the most like photorealistic like CG.
Here's why
like,
Avatar
characters
will
we've
win.
Ever, like had.
Here's
Like, it just
why.
can't beat
Here's
that.
why Avatar will win because the whole movie's visual effects. Where
It's
Top
just a
Gun,
showcase. Like, that's all
Top
the
Gun, they don't
movies
have to
are.
do the whole movie.
Yeah.
They're only doing like portions
And
of the
almost
movie.
like the visual effects aren't the most impressive thing in Top Gun, isn't it? Just more of like the cinematography of like.
Yeah, but they don't look at it that way because we discussed this already, and I
yeah,
looked
that's
it up,
weird.
and that's not the way they do the category. I was confused about that, but I guess I don't know as much as I think I do. All right,
They should win for sound.
yeah.
If they don't give like actually I don't know actually with All Quiet on the Western Front I don't even know if it's gonna win for sound actually because I imagine that one's gonna be horrifying.
I don't know. All right,
Like,
you got anything else of the
I'm
movies
just looking through
about
this
the
real
Oscars
quick.
you care about?
Production design, All Quiet on the Western
How
Front.
about makeup and
Avatar.
hairstyling? You care about that?
I'll probably just give that to Black Panther. Honestly, like that was one. That was the one.
Hey,
they were
let's
talking
do
about,
animated
the Black
feature
Panther.
film.
That's what I was looking for. Actually,
You got Pinocchio. You got
Um,
Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, which I never heard of. Puss in Boots, which I think's going to win the Oscar anyway, even though it's going to be in a write-in campaign. The Sea Beast and Turning Red. So it's down to Puss in Boots and Pinocchio, right?
I've heard really good things about Pinocchio, but also like I've seen clips of Puss in Boots, and Puss in Boots has a scene where like the Puss in Boots has a scene in it where like it's where he has like a realistic like panic attack.
Right.
Like in a children's like they
Yep.
like not like in most and that for me it was someone who has a lot of like different like you know stuff that I've dealt with over my time. Like mental health gets fucking obliterated. Like it's like showcased so horribly the vast majority of the time in things, especially in like things for kids. Like where it's just like these kind of like
right.
not romanticized, but a more like not accurate like way of showing mental health. Like Velma there was a big clip from Velma that was like all these of the way that Velma, that horrible show, like showcased like her having a panic attack versus like Puss in Boots, and it's like literally like he's just laying on a tree and he's just laying there and he's just like hyperventilating and that's all it is. And he can't catch his breath, and then like his friend gets like a little dog comes over and like literally just calms him down. He's trying to calm him down, and like Puss literally can't calm himself down. He's just hyperventilating, and like then the dog like puts his like head on Puss, and he's like just slowly like it like relaxes him and calms him down. That's a way that some people like literally get calmed. They have to get calmed down. Like you have to relax them. You're not gonna be able to talk them out of that. Like but they like literally do this accurate like representation of and I haven't even seen this full movie, but I want to now. Because there's also that one clip I showed you that's not that's completely the other
Attack on Titan.
completely the opposite, which is like an Attack on Titan like inspired like action sequence. I saw another clip with the villain, and like people really think the villain's good. Like this little wolf guy with.
Here's the terrible thing about all of this. I am more interested in seeing Puss in Boots than seeing Avatar.
Like, from what I've heard about these films, I'm much more interested in Puss in
Boots. And I realize I'm an asshole. I'm a complete asshole when it comes to Avatar.
Even like with everything all at once, whatever that movie was. I think I even mentioned that movie at the beginning of the year when we were talking about like movies that were coming out as like this might be cool. And like I love when a movie comes out and like surprises me. Like and especially when it's something like a sequel like 10 years old. So like a pretty solid but okay like DreamWorks movie. Because again like Puss in Boots was like a random spin-off movie to Shrek. Like
and it's not like we've been doing anything with Shrek in years.
No, we have some like side stuff, and like there was like from the middle of like 2010s, like some like direct to DVD.
No, but nothing recent. Like we've been out of that universe a really long time.
Especially nothing recent with like Antonio Banderas is like Puss in Boots, like nothing like that at all. Like his movies from like 2011.
Yeah, well, he
like,
was
2010.
He took us a lot of years off,
and they completely like did a different approach to it as well. Like the animation style is different. It's like a different type of story. It doesn't feel like just like a kind of offshoot Shrek thing as the first one did.
Well, to be honest, the first Puss in Boots was a really good movie. In the Shrek,
I don't remember it too much.
Universe, in the Shrek universe, it was one of my favorites. I like the way they did it. I mean, I always liked Tony Banderas anyway. So
yeah, I feel like there's a good message to this Puss in Boots movie too. It seems like.
You moving on? Yeah, we done here?
We're gonna go see Puss in Boots first.
Yeah, well, I get yes.
I actually don't even. I'm not even joking about that. Like, probably,
I'm not.
Like, we're probably gonna see that one first.
Like, I don't even think it's a probably. Because again, I can go spend an hour.
That should be cinematography. Puss in Boots.
40 minutes. Write-in campaign for best.
Best picture.
All right,
best picture. Puss in Boots.
So a couple other things. We're gonna get to Bad Batch. A couple big announcements. I wanted to mention this. There was this big thing going around about John Williams retiring. I think he's like 90, and he's I'm not retiring yet. I got a couple more movies he wants to do, and then I think it was kind of funny because I think Spielberg had said like Indiana Jones was going to be his last movie or something, and he said no, I've got a couple more that he wants to do. Mm-hmm. I don't even know if he does the conducting anymore. I think he still just does the composition, and then other people come in and do the conducting. Yeah. But so I was excited. But then it turned out that Spielberg is producing a documentary on John Williams, which I think will be very, very interesting. Okay. Because I really think if again, we might have talked about this at some point before in the podcast, but if you think of what John Williams did for cinema, I mean, it rivals just about anybody that did stuff for cinema because there's so many themes of his that are.
Is he Jaws?
What was that?
Is he Jaws?
Just to give you a quick list, Schindler's List, Jaws,
well, like most
Raiders,
of Spielberg stuff, right?
Star Wars, Superman, E.T.
Oh yeah, I would say Superman is the one I was just like Superman, Star Wars, like.
I mean, he went. This is the order, and I may have the order switched up a little bit. He did Jaws, and these are obviously he did other movies, but he did Jaws, then he did Close Encounters, then he did Star Wars. Then he did Superman. Then he did Raiders.
Well, that's what I'm just thinking
then he did E.T.
I'm just thinking
like he had one a year that was I think might have won like best Oscar or whatever.
He has Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Jaws, and Superman. Are those
and E.T.
Well, I don't know, but
E.T.'s been. But
there's like I'm saying like, but those four in particular are like.
Close Encounters is
like
groundbreaking.
Might be like four, like
Jaws
the top,
is ground.
like 10 most
Jaws
iconic.
Is still a thing.
No, I'm just saying like in terms of like iconicness of scores. Like those four by themselves are probably.
But
top
everybody
10.
in the world
like,
knows.
That's what I'm saying. Jaws, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, and
they're all good.
And like Superman, like all those.
To be honest,
are universally known.
I would try to think of someone that rivals, like, the themes.
There's not many.
I mean,
there's some modern.
Obviously, you got but
it'd
they're
be
not.
interesting to compare some of the modern composers because some of the modern composers have so many films. Like it's kind of wild. Like
I ended up having a conversation with Mr. Schmay, who's the music
Like a
teacher at
Zimmer
Niagara
or
Falls.
something like
well,
that.
Zimmer. Let's take Zimmer versus Williams. And here's the big difference, because I asked this friend, Mr. Schmay, who's the music teacher at Niagara Falls High School, and I said, what's the difference? Can you explain to me, like, in terms of music, why? And he said, and I'm not saying it right.
Yeah.
He said, when you think of the old movies like Star Wars and Jaws and all those things, he said the melody, the theme, the melody was a key part of it, where nowadays they don't really want a melody or a theme. They want kind of this underscoring tone. And so nowadays you don't really have the recognizable themes. You have these tones. And Hans Zimmer, nobody's better than Hans Zimmer at it, But and Zimmer's probably the closest thing we have to John Williams in terms of his. And besides, what's his face, the Italian, the guy who does the Giacchino. Like, he's so well known too, and he's got into directing and somewhat too.
Yeah, he did Werewolf by Night.
Yeah,
which we love.
Yeah. So but when you think about it, I think that concept of, we're never going to have a John Williams again. Like, obviously Zimmer is amazing and he's done a ton of stuff, but it's like, you can only like kind of think of the tone of his movies, like, cause he did Batman, like the Dark Knight theme. Like, the Superman theme's pretty good, but even the Superman stuff is, Man of Steel.
They kept trying to bring the Superman theme back, and like I remember Josh.
Well, now they are.
I remember Josh Whedon's like.
They did. They used
like
it.
Superman used it, and it's like, that doesn't fit this theme, guys.
I don't care. I was happy that they did it. When they use it, I think it's great, because to me, like, there's nothing. If you want to capture,
I actually really like the Man of Steel Superman theme. I have a lot of love
it is
for
a
the
good
Man of
theme,
Steel
but obviously the Superman's one is better. And when they've incorporated the Superman theme in. Like, if you want to get back to this concept of having a Superman that's like the positive feel Superman, you got to use the fucking theme, because the theme is like as iconic, idealistic as you can get, and I still love that theme. There's other guys I'm sure we could think of, but none of them have the depth and won the Oscars and stuff. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. And the one thing I wanted to throw in, I always like to bring this up when I talk about, because people, Williams was heavily inspired by a lot of different composers, but the main one is Holst. And if you're interested in listening, if you like John Williams' music, go back and listen to Holst, The Planets. And you will hear things that are like, oh my God, that's Star Wars. So like Mars, for example, is one of the tracks on the album, and it's all like the Star Wars, like dun 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 dun. Like, if you understand, if you like the way it works, like, it's so good. There's another track, Venus, which is definitely inspires Leia's theme, the love theme from Superman, E.T., and Close Encounters, and then Uranus. No jokes there. Raiders. The Raiders March, and even like the Jawas scenes, like when the Jawas are hopping around, it's definitely right from that. It's you can see where it's not a rip off. It's not like he stole it, but the melodic themes and stuff. And I've watched a bunch of YouTube videos the last couple of weeks about it, and I just like John Williams, and I just hope he keeps going, because I know it's not all his stuff is great anymore, but who cares? He's still John Williams. To me, I grew up listening to his stuff, and I still like his stuff.
Yeah, I feel it's weirdly but then I don't even blame him. But like, I weirdly don't seem to like nothing sequel trilogy like pops out to me. There's one or two. There's one from like Force Awakens from the trailer for that one that's really good. But like, otherwise, there's not too much that I can imagine. All Star Wars music is like kind of a cheat code anyway. Yeah. So like, at a bare minimum, it can't be bad. But I just don't remember anything that sticks out too much from the more recent stuff.
From the sequel ones, I kind of know a little bit about this. They didn't really want a lot of new themes.
No, they had a couple.
They have the Rey theme, which is okay. I don't dislike the Rey theme. It's fine.
Whatever one I'm thinking about.
The Force theme or whatever they call
it. You know what
I'm talking about. The one when Harrison Ford's talking about.
Yes, that's the one I'm talking about.
That one is really good.
The swelling one.
That
one's
Force
really,
Awakens
really trailer
good.
when he's like standing in like the hologram.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
That is really good.
That one is like
good.
a specific like. Because that one literally single-handedly got me excited. Like for that, people still use that I tell you what, that is one of the only meaningful additions
Yeah.
to the Star Wars canon that I'll accept from the sequel
And then
trilogy.
in Rise
That
of
song is
Skywalker
great.
at the very end, there's a theme in Rise of Skywalker, which isn't bad.
Yeah, I don't remember. I
It's
refuse to give any credit. to
again.
Rise of
Forget about the
Skywalker.
movie. Don't get all mad about the movie again.
No, it
Calm
doesn't
down
matter.
over
I
there.
won't even get into
but
specifics.
there's a theme that they use underneath, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's but again, like I don't think he's putting his. And they also were very clear. I know that they wanted a lot of reusing of themes and a lot of that stuff. So
Makes sense.
but okay. All right. So what else you got? You want to get to Bad Batch?
Sure. Have we even talked
Oh no,
about
I
Bad
don't want
Batch
to
yet?
talk about. I just talked about this morning. Clone Wars.
Oh yeah, you're watching Clone
So
Wars.
I've been watching Clone Wars a lot lately, and I've kind of seen these arcs before, but I think the problem was I was
You haven't
coming
seen
and
all
going.
these arcs before.
I don't think I ever saw them completely in a row. I think you'd be watching them with Zach or something, and then I would come and go and not watch the whole arc.
Yeah.
And I think I also walked in like the terrible arc with the stupid robots and the stupid younglings, which aren't good arcs.
No,
They're
there
fine.
are bad.
They're
not bad arcs, but there are arcs that are not.
They're
like
like-
they don't have
yeah, they're like,
enough
what?
going for them
What
beyond
is
like.
going on?
Because again, it was on Cartoon Network. They occasionally made an arc that was more for like
Yeah,
for
for
like
sure.
a kid. They have droids and like the more like
Yeah, little kids.
the
Little
ki-
kids
the things
can
that an
save the
8-year-old will
universe.
watch Star
Right.
Wars and love.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like that,
But it's
it is
funny
for
because
everyone.
everybody's always like season 7, the last 4 episodes, which is true. Like by itself, it's one of the best Star Wars things. It could be a movie and it would be great. But I mean, so the end of season 5 is the Ahsoka arc where she gets framed for a crime and ends up leaving the Jedi Order.
and 4 episodes before that is the Maul arc.
The Maul arc was
Yeah,
is that
yeah.
the one with his
No,
brother?
Here's what you're trying to get at.
Yeah.
These 3 arcs are in a row. And these are might be the
Well, give me one and then let me
no
comment on
these
it.
3 like
You
you
do
have
the first
you have the
one.
Maul take over Mandalore arc
With his brother,
with
Savage.
Savage and the Death Watch
Yeah.
and all the crime syndicates arc,
Yep.
which leads to like obviously spoilers,
Right.
like him taking over, him having to fight
Spoilers, the
Palpatine
show's been out for 10 years.
and killing Obi-Wan's like Boothang. And then we got then right after that. Then that's the end. That's not even the end of a season. That's just like the penultimate arc. Then you got the Ahsoka leaves the Jedi Order.
Yeah,
arc.
but before that, doesn't the Emperor come in too? And
No,
just
they're at the end of the that's the last scene of the Maul arc. There is he fights both Savage and Maul and kills him. But for like the first time he fights in the series too. But then you have that's followed up by the Ahsoka leaves the Jedi Order arc, one of the other best arcs in the series, which is then immediately followed the next season by the Order 66 Fives arc.
Right.
Which is then followed by like the more political like Republic takes over the banking clan arc.
Right.
And then that it's gonna end off with what you haven't even seen yet with a big Yoda arc. So like those
well,
6 arcs
so
in
let
a
me
row.
let me talk
like-
about some of the arcs that I really liked. So obviously, I like the Maul arc.
Yeah.
But the Ahsoka arc is obviously incredible. And then we get into season 6, and then we watch the Fives arc.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the arc of Fives, like this dude is single-handedly trying to save the universe, and he's just a clone, and his friend gets killed, and no one will listen to him.
Yeah.
It's just
It's
and
a
then
devastating
it's
series of episodes. You know
devastating.
he's done. You know the
It's-
second he figures it out, you're like, he's not getting out of this. And you're just spending 4 episodes with him, like, and you know it's not going to end well for him. At least you think it's not.
And
like,
it's such an interesting thing because you've got a character, and obviously we kind of know what's going to happen because you already know about Order 66. And it's just so bizarre, and it's just incredibly well done. And, again,
And real
Bradley
quick,
Baker,
actually.
like that whole, it's just so good. It's so heartbreaking. Performances for animation. I mean, what's Bradley does the voice characterizations like, you're not listening to me.
yeah, that's one of his
And
best. That's one of D. Bradley Baker's best scenes as like a clone. Fives is actually, and it was weird saying like is one of his best voices as a clone because they're all sort of the same, but there's so much like nuance to how he does the different voices. And Fives even more so than Anakin, even more so than Rex, is like picked up so much of Anakin. And like his like way and like the
Right.
way he operates on like the battlefield and stuff, and like also Anakin like I just love that they like the Jedi Council like it's like literally knows Fives like by name. Like, that's how far he gets. He does a good job. Like he like for being a clone stuck in the system. Like he fights and pushes through and almost exposes like Order
and he
66.
gets really
Almost.
close. I think Anakin and Rex would have.
And I pointed out to you that Ahsoka and Rex wouldn't have survived like in the final episodes without the work that Fives had done and uncovered, which made Rex at least look into it a little bit enough that he hesitated enough to Ahsoka to tell. He need to mention the name Fives, where Ahsoka was able to figure out how to get the chip out of Rex's head and save him. So like in a roundabout type of way, Fives does like it. It's not. It doesn't save the Republic, but he saves his friend Rex and he saves Ahsoka.
When's the
Tano.
arc with Echo when he gets taken?
Actually, this is where I was going to get at.
What
obviously,
that in?
Fives is at this point when this show came out, he's the last. You've seen that early season episode with like the 3 guys, and then the one guy sacrifices himself. The other 2 become ARC troopers, and they join the 501st. Fives and Echo. Right. At this point, Echo is believed to be dead. So when Fives dies in this episode, he's the last member of. Obviously, Echo comes back.
Wait, let me clarify your point. If I'm watching Clone Wars, when Fives dies, I don't know Echo's alive.
Echo's dead from what people's thoughts at this point. Echo
dies,
dies, and at least dies with quotations, dies. In when they're trying to like free a Jedi from like this Jedi.
I
prison,
remember that episode.
That's in like season 3 or 4, if I remember correctly. So this is years later. So when Fives dies, that's our last. Like our first clones we get introduced to like in depth are Domino Squad, our heavy. Fives and Echo and a couple other guys, I think. But and then when he dies in that moment, that's our like kind of our vessel that our main clone vessels, the guys that we've stuck with that aren't Rex. And like our main eyes and ears of the clones was Fives in that moment. So when he's done, that's it. Like it's like they're all gone. It's like it's our squad, and it's like those are like beloved Star Wars characters, like especially Fives and Echo, and obviously Echo's back now. And there was a long.
So when do we get the arc?
For years and years and years.
But
like,
in
Filoni was always like Echo lives and stuff like that.
In 7, we get Echo back. That's
Echo comes back in the start of next season.
The beginning of 7. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because they figure out he's alive and being used by the.
And I've seen that arc too. So again, I'm not saying 7's not a good season. I'm just saying that I think
the first 4
some people kind of forget.
The middle of 7's a bit bad.
Yeah, there is. No, for sure. I don't.
It's not even bad. It's just filler in the middle of a 12-episode series.
My point is that we kind of forget how good 5 and 6 are.
Yeah. No, 5 and 6 are probably the 4, 5, and 6 are really good. 5 and 6 especially.
Well, I mean,
are really
the arcs that I'm in the
best.
middle of rewatching. Again, I've seen these things before, but I'm rewatching them with a different like level of appreciation that maybe when I watched them the first time with you, which was probably years ago, and I've seen only like, because you've said, well, we should watch this episode. Sometimes watching an episode without a context of watching 5 or 6 before that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think it's pretty, I mean, I totally understand this feeling that people have now towards Clone Wars. Like, I'm totally in it on it now. Like, I got to go start buying some fucking Funko Pops now because I feel like
I'm so and in so much of the lore that like is so important to Mandalorian. The Mandalorian is like
obviously because it's all Filoni.
So like they've picked like so much of the stuff they've cherry picked from. So like being a Clone Wars fan has become extremely gratifying. Like,
that leads us into
at least for tying into Mando and Boba.
Well, more importantly, it's tying right in. It's tying right into Bad Batch.
Reaction when like people always talked about the reaction to Luke and like all this other stuff. Go watch like online. Go watch people's reactions to Cad fucking Bane. Go watch people's reaction when Cad Bane shows up, a character that's only appeared as a voice in a cartoon.
So here's
and people see a live action version of this character, and people knew him by his fucking hat in the distance. I'm like, that's Cad Bane. I'm like, I literally saw like a little speck with a big hat on him in the distance. I'm like, oh, it's Cad Bane.
But again, we've talked about this in the podcast before. The very first time I saw Cad Bane, I'm like,
when Ahsoka shows up.
No, but the first time Cad Bane shows up, the minute I saw him, I'm like, it's fucking Angel Eyes from Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Yeah. Like I truly knew, like it's so good. Yeah. No, but it's so good. The character is just so good that it's so well developed that like I don't need like a lot of development because I already know the character. Like I know it from and it's the same thing. But then the other one is okay. So I got to ask you this because Hondo's still alive as far as we know, right?
There's a lot of rumors about Hondo. There's rumors that Hondo's
They gotta give
Hondo,
me live
I said
action
this, I
Hondo.
said the other day, Hondo
Give me live action
is definitely
Hondo.
next. Hondo
I
is
want live action
definitely
Hondo.
next on Filoni's list. I don't know where.
It's such a terrible, great character.
No, but
it's so
what's
bad that
interesting is
it's great.
He's already kind of old.
He's like, hey, how you doing?
he's in
Like, he's just like this. He's all
Yeah.
over the place, but he's such a good character.
Because obviously he's like a side character in both in Clone Wars.
I'm not saying
but
he has to be a regular.
No, but he's
but
also
like,
a main character in, or not a main character, but he's. I think might even be in the show more than he is in the Clone Wars. But he's in Rebels.
Rebels.
He's in
Right.
Rebels a fair bit as well,
Right.
and he actually forms like a rather. Well, he uses Ezra a lot, like basically, like they kind of is like little like guinea pig to like try to do schemes and stuff. But he genuinely grows to like a care for Ezra to the point that in the last like mission of the series when they're trying to free Lothal and everything, Hondo's helping, like not for money or anything, just to help Ezra. So he's like an old Jedi sympathizer.
Can I give you
like,
my take on Hondo? Whenever I see Hondo now, I'm like, and I'm not saying he's inspired by this, but why I like Hondo so much is for me in Star Wars, Hondo is my Quark.
Yeah,
He's
very
Star
like
Trek,
that.
my
like
Star
that,
Trek's, Deep Space Nine Quark.
I've always loved
He's
Hondo.
not really. He's not for anything. He's not against anything. He's just out for Hondo, and that's what Quark is on Deep Space Nine. And I like that in a universe.
They have alien characters. Like it's so good.
I like an alien character
fleshed
that's
out.
That's not a Jedi. He's not a clone.
Yeah,
he's not a
pirate.
separatist.
He's
not a
pirate.
Republican. Like he's not part of the Republic. He's not. He's just a dude.
Yeah.
He's just a guy trying to make his way in the universe and not get killed.
He's a swindler.
And
and again,
he's Quark. He might as well have a bar on a space station. I mean, I'm not saying he's inspired by
rumors of
but he's my
Skeleton Crew.
Yeah,
I've heard Skeleton Crew. Look out for, like these are leaks and like rumors and stuff, but like I've heard that maybe that Hondo, maybe, which makes sense because Skeleton Crew is also like I don't know. Skeleton Crew, I think there's a decent chance that that's like Jedi kids somehow. Like somehow there's or at least one or two of them. And like you've seen the one arc with Hondo, with the Kyber Crystal arc, where he interacts a little bit with the kids, and he's like almost has like a friendly relationship with like.
That was one of the better things. I wouldn't be surprised. That's one of the better things on that arc.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they brought that back if they bring back because even with Hondo, like there's this one line where when Hera's basically asking everyone, all these people they've met throughout the series to go and help Ezra, free Lothal. And then he's like, there's like, for that boy, there's nothing I wouldn't do or something. This is like the only moment he's ever said anything like that. Like beyond like without his own.
Well, let's transition into
benefit.
Bad Batch. So
I don't know what episodes have we talked about for Bad Batch.
Well, I mean,
any of them?
I think we kept saying we were going to get to it, and we haven't
never
really
did.
done it. Go ahead.
we haven't got too far into the season in terms of like the actual story going anywhere. Although we have an idea. We know where they've aimed us in a good direction.
I like where it's going, but I need an episode that actually matters, kind of so to speak.
Yeah, and these episodes do matter. Like the first one, there was a lot of good.
I like the first one.
The first two were like it was a bit of the overall situation was a bit mission of the week, but they actually felt at risk a lot of the time, and they actually had some more creative than usual ways of getting out of situations, like the Wrecker picking up the one gun and like the tank gun or whatever. Right. And then also like that episode showed to figure out like where Hunter is still obviously like very focused on just like kind of keeping mainly Omega safe, but the team as well. Where Echo probably wants to do more, be more like Rex.
In the first two episodes, we're getting that really good dynamic, and I like where it went in the first two episodes.
But it's what we're going to get to is the point of like, where is there to hide though? It's that Andor thing, like, but okay, cool. Like we want this kid to have a good life, but like, is that even possible with like the Empire around? Or
and she
are we
also
doing a disservice to ourselves, to the Republic? Like,
but also she's telling them like, I don't want that. I need to be doing something. I need to be important.
And Echo really is getting like antsy about like not. Doing something really. So
I like the way they got. I mean, the characters have developed, except for Wrecker, because you can only develop Wrecker so much. But
even Wrecker has like a sweet. At least
his relationship.
At least he's sweet with Omega, so like that at least gives him like a softer.
It softens him up, which that's probably the biggest development.
And Tech got a little bit of has gotten a decent amount of development both with when he was talking with the native on Dooku's homeworld, and they were like realizing that like he was protecting information,
Again,
not
the first two
not
episodes-
separatist data, but
Yeah.
but like whatever Dooku's homeworld's data that
Right.
that we existed before.
They're
the
historical
separatists. So I liked
documents.
that, and then even the podcast episode, which was like a Phantom Menace like homage. I actually really liked that episode. I thought it did a decent job of doing a lot of the callbacks and like
Right.
and taking the concepts from like the pod race of that
Yep.
and twisted them, and even like when they did like the announce everyone thing, like the deleted scene,
Right.
and they had all the droid people and
Right.
different pilots and everything. But so
Um,
they given tech a little bit. We need an echo. We need an echo
Well,
episode.
let me go. Let's before
like-
we get to that. Let's just
Yeah,
talk about
I'm
what
moving
we've got
too
so
quick, my
far.
bad.
So you got the first two. You got the story arc on the first two episodes, which is really good, and I like where it went. The third
The third episode's the best.
The third episode's
One of
the
the best
best
in the
one so
series,
far
too.
because that's the one where you've got
Crosshair.
you got Cody and you've got
Yeah, Cody and Crosshair, which is the
Crosshair
first time we've seen Cody in like in this
and
canon
Crosshair
for a
is
while.
trying to work his way back into leadership, or so to speak, leading a team.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they really trust him. And I don't think he really gets yet. At the beginning of that episode, what's kind of going on in the Empire?
There's a lot of subtlety. I love the symbolism of this
he's
episode.
he's still all about good
Yeah.
soldiers follow orders. And by the end of that episode, with Cody kind of going AWOL, so to speak, well, he does. He goes AWOL at the end. I really,
It was a
I do.
change for Cody too
It
from
was
the old
yeah,
canon.
yeah, because a lot of people really fuck you, Cody, like kind of aspect.
Well, Cody's like used to went on to train like stormtroopers, like in the old
Right.
canon, and was a pretty loyal-ish. Which I guess so that if they're going a different direction, at least with that, we do seem to be building up overall to like a clone. Because it seems like because they were talking even that episode they mentioned like clones going AWOL a fair
Right.
bit. We even had that one clone getting killed by like an Imperial officer in the first
Right.
couple episodes.
Right.
So I think like we
Well,
are
that's
almost,
that's the beginning of that episode.
even the way and with in that there's also other subtle stuff like clones in the background talking about like a new like Imperial Senate vote that like they didn't want to pass because it would probably make them even more obsolete or like would like their funding, like they're starting to understand that like their position within like as soldiers as like in this rebellion is not like fully secure, and like a part of them is like, well, we were bred for war to serve the Republic. What do we do when they don't use us? If
And
they
that's-
don't need us,
I think it's really important that they.
that's terrifying.
Let me go for a second here. I like all of that, and I think that's good. But I feel like then the next two episodes
Should be a bit more
4 and
focused on that,
5.
yeah.
Episode 4 is a pod racing thing, which is not a bad episode. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
But then we go to Entombed, and then this is stupid treasure hunt
Which
thing.
I don't. Which again, this isn't.
And
this is weirdly important to canon
Let me
too,
finish.
but-
Like, I don't have a problem with either episodes, but it's bad they have those two episodes back to
Yeah,
back
it's a bit
because they
weird.
have nothing to do with the bigger story. Now, maybe it will come back around, and it will. But I'm watching these two episodes, and I'm like, I know it's a 16 episode season, so I'm sure we're getting there. But I was like, I needed I would have rather they would have put 3.
Yeah, it'd be better.
3
yeah.
should have been 4. They should have done faster after the first 2, then did the solitary clone, and then did Entombed.
And this
If
latest
they just
episode
did
has some
that-
weird,
If they
like-
just did that, then I wouldn't have cared. But I'm like, I have 2 one-offs. Like Solitary's a one-off.
And to be fair, there is like
but
I would
it's
say there's
important
more
though.
going on in Entombed that it's not as a lot of people have called that like just unadulterated like filler episode, and I don't know if like what they show at the end is very weird to me, and like and they don't make it just seems like a very out of left field thing. If you didn't see
Right.
the episode, basically they like wake up. It's an Indiana Jonesy type episode. Like some of the
Yeah, oh,
music
for
is
sure,
literally like almost
sure.
right out of Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Right, for sure.
So you have that vibe, and one of the characters that they introduce is like a treasure hunter sort of character. But also, I don't mind like doing that because they have like Sid and this new character, and they're almost like well, also it's a human female role model for Omega, or at least it's someone who's like of because obviously she only has like her clone like brothers to like look up to like most of the time, and then sometimes Sid. So I guess giving her a different variety of like other people to interact with, especially that are like like girls as well, would and she's obviously like she follows that woman around like pretty. She's a kid, like she finds what she does interesting, and she like attaches to it. And I might even be like a hint to like maybe what Omega's like long term, like because I think Omega survives, this show pretty easily. I don't know about the others, but like I think Omega survives this and pops up somewhere after the Like, honestly, if we do a Boba Fett season 2, like Boba Fett meets Omega, like, what do you like? That might be something to explore. Like, if they both have families somewhere they don't know, like, well, I guess they're not really family. They're literally the clone of the same person.
No, I think that's I think that's a really cool. I think I know it's gonna get. I'm not saying it's bad either. Mm-hmm. I just feel like, okay, I'm really hoping that episode 6, the tribe or whatever, the clones conspiracy,
episode 3,
whatever
though,
the next
that is really good, and that's some really good Star Wars. Is that
well? Here, let's give me the names.
It's an old episode.
Let me give you the names of the next 2 episodes. The next one's called Tribe, which tells me nothing.
Tribe.
But then you have the episode after that, the clone conspiracy, and then you have something called Truth and Consequences. Then you have something called The Crossing, which makes me feel like it has something with crosshair. So, I mean, I feel like we're moving into the season now.
Tribe.
We're moving into the cool part of the season.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the weird thing, that big mech, though, at the end of the last episode, like, that reminded me of
Iron Giant.
Yeah, kind of. But, like, in the Fallen Order games, there's, like, you're almost, like, investigating a lot of the time, like, an old, like, Force-sensitive, like, race that's like all more ancient than the Jedi even,
right?
And like but they used the Force almost in different ways and stuff, and they were kind of like intrinsically like semi-related to the Jedi. But either way, you explore all these different ruins and stuff, and you even find like these kind of like Sentinel like statue things that have very similar metallic, like weirdly shaped like armor, much like the thing we see in this like this giraffe looking like dinosaur like mech thing that shoots a laser out of his head in this episode. So I don't know if that's like a reference to like the Zepho. I don't know if it's like a lot of Old Republic stuff. And they mentioned the Ancients, which is out of like both a Yoda thing and an Old Republic games from the past.
I'm not saying it's not going to be part of
super
something.
Weapons like that are very intrinsic to like the old. They're very related to the Old Republic era, like when the Jedi and Sith fought each other in like bigger numbers. Even like in the planet we go to, Malachor, I think it's called, or Malastare, either one.
Whatever.
Where Vader fights Ahsoka, and there's that big like pyramid there, and that's a super weapon as well. That super weapon gets activated in the same way as this one, where when the power source gets taken out, or the thing gets taken out, it activated. So I don't know if that's we don't know if that's a thing or not.
I don't have a problem.
It just seemed like it was a very. It just seems like it's hinting at something. I don't know what it would show, but it seems like it was a very out of left field thing to include without having like. And again,
I don't think it was completely.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there's the thread's going to continue
come
somewhere.
Back.
I don't know if it's going to be in this show even.
Right.
But I feel like somewhere in Star Wars it's going to come back.
Well, you and I, and
later.
we talked about this on the other podcast that you guys are on now. We'll get to that at some point.
Oh yeah, we'll shout that out.
Yeah, we got to talk about the other podcast that we got started here to merge. And it's interesting because I do feel like a lot of Bad Batch could line up with what's going to happen in the Mando time frame that they've created on TV now.
Well, I felt like this was almost a period that
the
like
Mando era, whatever you want to call it.
I feel like they also did Bad Batch because like there's certain things that they could fill in if they need to, like for the later shows.
Right, that's what I just said. I'm saying that I think that some of the stuff that's happening on
like when
Bad
they put
Batch,
Fennec in it last season, you know what I mean?
I think some of the stuff that's going on with Bad Batch is going to line up with stuff that we're getting, you know.
And again, I expect Omega to one day be like to show up in live action in the Mandoverse. Like I expect Omega to be around. Like I really do. Like
we've talked about this before. Like we do feel like some of the Bad Batch will definitely have to die.
Omega's almost like the last. Is because she's female. I don't know if she's able to like reproduce or anything. I don't even know the specifics of like what that would be. But theoretically, like she's like a. If the clones are their own like species or race in a sense, like she has the potential to let that like them be something.
Well, let me ask you. Let me ask you a couple questions about.
It's a weird. I don't know.
Let me ask. Very weird I got a couple questions about that then because I've never asked you this question before, and I don't think I've ever heard an answer to this. Obviously, all the clones except for Omega are male. Can the clones reproduce?
I don't think male clones can. No.
I mean, obviously not themselves, but can they marry a woman and
I just don't know.
Have
like,
a child?
I just don't think we know about. Again, this is all Omega. I don't think. Actually, well, we have Cut in that one clone we meet. Remember, who has like the
the children.
But I don't think those are his. I think those are.
I don't think they were ever
I don't
clear.
think those are. But it doesn't make sense though, because the war's only been going on for like less than a year when we first see
Oh,
Cut.
true,
Because again,
true.
Cut's a returning character. Cut isn't like a character we get introduced in Bad Batch. Cut is a character from like the very first season of
So
Clone
you don't
Wars.
know. So
like,
the answer is you don't know.
so we don't know. I think it is. It must be said somewhere. I can't imagine that they allowed clones to have like
Wait,
you know.
so
actually,
how old-
they might
how
have.
old's Omega?
Actually, they
How
might
old
have
would
because
a-
it might have messed with the testosterone. I don't. There's a lot of weird stuff in this in the fringes of
Right.
canon
How old
related
would
to
Omega
clones,
be
stuff
right
like
now
this.
in Bad Batch? Like
well,
10,
actually,
12?
in Bad Batch, she's like 10.
Okay.
Probably like
how
10,
old
12.
how old is Boba Fett?
Like at this? Actually, is she the same age? No, she's young. I think she's younger than Boba.
But she's roughly the same age as Boba Fett within a few years, right?
She can't be that much younger than Boba. She looks Boba by the end of
If
Clone
she's
Wars.
10, he's got to be like 15.
Boba's like, I'm trying to think of like what Boba looks like in the later seasons of Clone Wars because he gets a bit older.
Right. But he's a teenager,
You know what?
right?
Omega in season 2 probably is like Boba's age in like season like 5 or 6 maybe. So like,
they're within a 4 or
they're
5
like,
years.
Yeah, they're only a couple years apart, and Omega would be like.
So here's my
Although I will say like what's his name who plays Boba doesn't like Boba should not be that old. Like in canon,
Well, they can't
like,
do
at
anything
all.
they
Like
can't do
Tamir
anything about
Morrison is
that.
just like
They
is
can't do
so
anything
much
about
older than
that.
how he should look. 'Cause he should be like 40 something.
Yeah, but he's
and
50.
Omega is like 40 at most.
So
like,
here's my crazy idea.
that point,
if
like-
you supposedly they're doing a Boba Fett season 2,
well, I mean, I saw.
if I was gonna
yeah.
bring Omega into any of the live
That's
action
what I would have
stuff,
done.
if I was gonna bring Omega into any live action, it would make most sense that she shows up with Boba Fett because that's her family. And there's not too many other clones left.
Yeah, there could be something. Yeah.
So, I mean, that would be an interesting thing. I mean, I think people would like that. That would kind of help Boba Fett, especially if you get a good actress to play it.
yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting.
All right. I think that's enough for that. I mean,
Um,
I like Bad Batch season 2. I just wanted to get. I love the backstory building. Now I want main story building. I need the story A now to be to you know. I need, and I don't really care about the Wanda Sykes character. I never want to see that character again.
I unfortunately
could
think we're
care
gonna-
less
well,
about
I unfortunately
the-
think we're going to see her. A bit,
I can't
so.
stand her, and I can't stand. And I'm sick of Rhea Perlman as the green froggy lady, whatever the
Trandoshan?
yeah, whatever she is, whatever she's supposed
Bosk.
to.
She's
Bosk.
Bosk's
Well,
race.
whatever she is, I can't. I'm sick of those two
Trandoshan,
characters. I'm hoping they get away from her relatively soon because I just I'm bored with those two characters.
Actually, I do like that.
And her stupid
I
nicknames.
do like that they're in the bar, like the one bar,
Just
from,
hanging
like,
out in
Rhonda
the bar.
Perlman's. Like, no, because
Yeah.
they're in the bar because there's that one show that she was on.
Cheers.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's why they're in like the bar that
Yeah.
looks like that because it's a
Oh, I
reference to
didn't
her
think of that.
Cheers character,
Oh,
like
okay.
which I like. I think that's funny.
That's fine.
But like,
all right, but
it's
now
like-
we're done. We're
it's-
done.
But no, we do see a little bit too much of the Trandoshan. She isn't, or actually, it's not even that we've seen too much. She's supposed to be like the grounded, like
Yeah.
gangster, like living in the galaxy, exposing
I
like
know,
these
but
clones who
I'm
don't
kinda
know it
bored
to
with
like.
this.
But again, we've
And I do see
we've
that,
spent
like-
too long in this mode though. We need to
Yeah.
move on a little bit.
That's kind of my point. And at the end of that episode
Yeah.
where with the pod racing thing, the guy did say, "Hey man, like you got to get away from her because she's bad for
well,
you."
yeah.
Like,
Hopefully, it'll move quicker than soon.
One last
So-
thing that I'll do another.
But the
Cheers.
names of the next couple
Let
episodes.
me give you another
bode
Cheers
well.
tie-in really quick.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a character on Deep Space Nine called Morn,
Yeah.
and he's designed to look like an alien, but he's supposed to look like Norm from Cheers. So it's just they just rearranged the letters of the name, and that's a big thing on Deep Space Nine. He's a guy named, and he never speaks. The guy never spoke on the show. They always reference the guy speaking, but never on screen. Like it's always like, oh my God, Morn talked my ear off last night. We're like, what? We've never. It's really like they even
it's
had one
an inside
episode where
joke,
where they think Morn's dead, and it's just a whole episode about Morn. People love Morn. Like,
Have you
people,
ever,
like
is he ever on screen?
he's on screen all the time.
He just never talks.
He's never talks on screen, but they talk about him
Is that the-
talking all the
is that
time.
joke? Is that the inside
yeah,
joke?
it's a great inside joke
Is it
about
actually-
like it's Mark
So
Shepard.
the writers just had an inside joke.
They
it's
just, and then
actually-
again, he's Morn. He's definitely Morn. He's supposed to be Norm
Yeah.
from Cheers. Was the one guy who always sat in the corner of the bar that was always in Cheers. So
Yeah.
Cheers is one of those shows that everybody really likes. It's funny that you've
Yeah,
got
like, you get little references incorporated.
you get
in things,
references
yeah.
across whatever your cultural crossover. So
Yeah.
all right, let's go to Bad Batch.
We were just talking about Bad Batch.
I'm not Bad Batch. The Last of Us.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, first of all,
How you liking it?
Before, okay, I hate those freaking.
Yeah, you were like, oh my fucking God.
I
You're like-
don't like the scary.
they're scary
alien.
as hell.
I'm over it now because now I've seen them, and
you're
it's
good,
not
yeah.
like it's cocky, and I'm more scared of conceptually what they were actually going to look like versus what they actually looked like once I saw them.
They did them perfectly.
They
I
did
think
do it
they're
perfectly.
I don't know if they're CG.
And they look-
I don't know
No,
if
they're
CG
not.
or
They're
dudes.
practical. They're
because,
practical.
like, there's some weird.
No,
like,
they're practical. I could tell. They're just a big freaking mask, and that's why it's not that bad.
But even the movement of like those people
Yeah.
who's ever doing it though is so unnatural.
Well,
like they're doing
that's why
such
you have a good
job.
director.
Like
and they look, and although it's funny,
the blind ones are scary as fuck.
What are those things called?
The blind ones.
The ones with the big crazy head.
Yeah, the blind ones that have
Yeah.
like the exploding skull. Those
Yeah.
are called clickers.
Okay, so the clicker. Have you seen the clicker Funko Pop?
Yeah,
It looks
It's
way too
expensive,
much like
though.
the actual.
It's expensive though.
Yeah, but it looks too much like the
I really
actual.
wanted it, but it was like-
Mr. Strange, you guys took over from me. He's got one on his bookshelf. I'll steal it
okay.
next time. Oh, I just committed to a crime on the podcast.
But yeah, that would
But the Funko Pop looks
looked
way
pretty
too
good,
much
yeah.
like the actual thing. So it's like the Funko Pop's almost as scary as what I saw on the show. But that being said,
I watched the
again,
first episode and I went to.
here's the
get
funny
those, and
thing.
I couldn't find
I know nothing about the game. I never played the game. I don't play video games. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm old. We don't do those things. But I enjoyed the series immensely. And I'm kind of over the apocalyptic stories. But I just enjoy this one because I think it's the best thing I've seen.
Oh, it's gonna get way better. It's gonna get way.
I'm excited
We've
to hear
still
that.
these first two episodes are still just like we haven't even gotten to like the complex questions yet, which is like what this series gets to answer like later on, like about like morality and like love and like all this stuff that gets like
boy.
as the further we go. But right now, what all you've gotten right now is like the introduction. Like the two things. You
Yeah,
got
we're
the
still kinda universe
These
building.
these two first episodes have just been like, all right, here's the introduction to like what society was like, and like the virus, and like to what society is like afterwards. And then the next episode was like, all right, here's what it's like out in the world, like when you're not like behind the wall,
Right.
and when you have to deal with clickers and actually they did like a lot of the more human threat in the first one, and then they did like the more like more environmental
Right.
threat in the second, which
Right.
is which even though they
I thought that was
which
smart
I thought
that they did that.
Which yeah,
we'll
I-
talk about
I-
that a little bit.
Yeah, I made this when we were watching. At the end of the episode, in this spoilers for this episode, they end up at the.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the audience, the problem when you watch shows with Christian is that he starts explaining things to you in the middle of the show. And I have to
No.
yell at him and say, can you just wait till the show's over? I'm watching the show. At the end, you can give me half an hour dissertation on what I just saw, but let me just watch it!
I don't know what you're talking about. It's never happened.
Which, to be fair, I'm an asshole in this
No,
way,
it's
too.
helpful.
I mean, no, I don't. It's not.
Yes, it is.
And it's not. No, I don't need you
Makes
to.
you enjoy it better.
No. The only person who hates watching shows with you more is what you do to your poor mother when she's trying to
No,
watch
I
something.
don't know what you're talking about.
That should be a podcast. Just the way you ruin things your mother's trying to watch.
I ruin every show she watches.
Well, like this
I do it on
morning.
purpose, though.
This
I do
morning,
it
like
on purpose.
you were watching Chicago. I don't think you really were watching Chicago, whatever PD or whatever. What a terrible show!
Yeah, that show fucking
What a
sucks.
terrible,
That show fucking
terrible show. I don't want to get into the issues of law enforcement in my life, right? Not my life, but just
My
in
life.
general.
Yeah.
But like the guy who's the star of Chicago PD
Yeah.
was a character they brought in on the other show, Chicago Fire, and he was corrupt.
Yeah.
Now he runs the whole division.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a yada yada how they did that, but I don't
Redemption.
understand how this guy's not in jail. Because I'm pretty sure he was like extorting like firemen and had like, and they decided they just liked the actor, so they had to find a way to keep the actor because they liked the actor.
I guess so.
Which was funny because they had a yada yada like, oh,
He served his
turned
time.
over a new leaf.
He
But
served
this-
his time. Let's
we-
let him back in.
We saw a scene where the guy was going to, the other guy was going to shoot a guy in the alley, and he didn't, and nothing happened. He went to dinner with his kids,
Yeah,
and
I'm
then
like,
he
is this like- is this
and he
like
was afraid of people in the restaurant.
Like, I didn't know what that guy did that he was shooting and putting a gun at, but that's not really the point. That's not really. It's like that's not really.
He stepped on my new pair
Let's
of
not
white
talk
Nikes.
about like the thing that we didn't even have context for. That like now the audience is even like less.
Don't
than
watch
us.
Chicago PD. That's our point. All right,
Yeah.
back to the last.
Okay,
of
so
Us.
like at the end of the
Episode 2.
episode, we wanted to be able to say, yeah, they do a weird thing where this entire episode is just like a mission from the game. essentially.
Well, I think that's going to be a lot of this show.
Well, it's like yeah, they just adapt. Well, the games, the games, and a lot of when you think video game mission, you're like, oh, you gotta bring the package somewhere. You gotta kill the enemies. It's like no, like Last of Us. It's like yeah, sometimes, but Last of Us like is like the way it's paced and like the level design and stuff is designed to make you feel like it's immersive. It makes you feel like you're in the movie, like you're playing like as like it's a single player game. Like
Can
it's
I
designed.
jump into a truck and drive it around?
What?
Can
I
I
don't think
jump
you get
in?
to. I don't think you get to drive in that movie at all, in that game at all, actually. Okay. But either way, but you're playing it like you're like a character.
That was
in a
my
movie.
favorite thing when I would jump into video games when you guys would just let me play. Once in a while, when I could just jump into a truck and drive it around. That's my knowledge of video games at this point in my life. Can I just jump in the truck and drive it around?
Yeah, let me just.
Zach could be like,
the driving simulator.
yeah, go ahead. I don't know why, but okay. And then I'd be bad at it, so then Zach would just get mad.
Yeah. So most of the episode they just have him like going through buildings and like running away from like infected and like looking out for him and stuff. And at the end though, they get to like the meeting place that they're supposed to bring Ellie to. Yes. And in the game, it's the where they get there and all the Fireflies, the group they're trying to meet with, are all dead. In the game, they're killed by that military group that runs the what's it called the walled city or whatever you want to call it, the sanctuary zone, I think it's called. In this though, because like they made they wanted it to be more like thematically like contained as an episode. Like, and considering that the episode up until that point had been much of like, and even the level actually that you're in that point is very much a like zombie survival level. So they made this episode of much more of like an introduction to like the clickers and to like the horror of like the I guess like the city environment and them themselves and like the virus a bit. And so instead they swapped out like the military guys you fight off or like run away from at the end of the game level. And that what's her name like sacrifices herself actually taking out. So in the game the weird kiss that's really, really creepy, that got a lot of traction on like when people were talking about it and it was terrifying. That kiss isn't in the game at all because she just dies fighting soldiers in the game, so she doesn't turn. In this though, like they do zombies at the end to kind of make it a more like contained episode where like now the entire villain this entire time was them.
Cool.
So they've done a good job with of sticking very, very true to what the levels were, what the overall idea of like the mission was, and like what the goal of it was, and they've kept that the same, but they've changed the circumstances to make much more thematic sense. So like they did that with this. They did that in the first episode when they didn't do the mission where like Joel and Triss go and like remember the guy they find like dead against the door? Right. In the game, like, you kill them. In the game, you kill that guy, and then Marlene rocks up to you, shot, needing like help. In the movie, they go to them to make because they want that moment at the end of the episode where, and I think I said this last time, where Joel beats up the soldier to save Ellie. They want that one burst of violence to be more impactful. And whereas in the game, the one level is literally a warm-up mission to teach you how to use the weapons in the game. It's not necessarily like important to the story, but more to the gameplay. So like they know exactly like what to tweak, it seems like, to make it more adaptable, like for like for the story to shine through better. And they know what to change and what was needed to like make the video game work. But what it won't work because, again, that was an unnecessary point.
I think the thing that you're getting at is kind of a cool, like, double challenge that they have figured out. And there was always these challenges with a video game. How do we take the game and turn it into a movie? And, like, you brought up an interesting point that some of the levels are these challenges. And I think, like, traditional television writers, which quite often were brought in to do this, didn't know how to adapt a mission in a game or even a level where you're learning a skill in the game and make it part of the story.
Like a gameplay mechanic.
And the other weird thing about it is this, from the way you've described it, the nature of the way you play characters in this game is pretty interesting. It's different than a lot of other games.
Yeah, well,
the way you guys have described it to me.
Certain games, like, you have, like, a blank slate character where, like, you're, like, putting a lot of your own. And, again, in every character, you do that as well. Like, you still have, like, 20 years of Joel where, like, you feel like he was not the best guy, like, out in the world. And then you can kind of think about that for yourself and put, like, your own ideas into the character. But, like, but Joel is a very, like, the character has, like, very like the game is built with the story is the most important thing in the game.
Right.
Like even more so than the dialogue. It's a game. A lot of games are game first, then story. Last of Us is story then game. Like it's more that you're playing the story than like you're vice versa.
Okay.
You know what I'm trying to say?
I get it.
So like Last of Us is a bit of like, it's almost like you're taking something that was already better designed as a
right.
like a narrative
Right.
in the first place.
Yep. All right, well, we're an hour and 15 minutes in.
Also, a character like Joel and Ellie are like,
Yeah.
they're significantly more. I love a character like Master Chief.
Right.
But like, they're significantly more. Like, there's probably more depth to like Joel and like Ellie in like this than there is in like most of Master Chief's story in the games and stuff.
And I go back to that, and I think that's really the interesting.
Joel's not a hero either, like in any sense.
No, and I
like,
think that's fine, and I think he makes better for better television and or whatever streaming the way they're doing it. I think it's better than we've gotten. Obviously, everybody agrees with that. They did announce that season 2's coming in. I don't want to. We're at it.
Yeah,
we don't have enough time to go into that. But they did announce that they've already renewed the show for season 2, which you said there's going to be a bit of a challenge to that because the way the second game they've announced that the second season will follow the second game.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know how many games of
There's only 2 games. I don't know if there's actual plans for a Last of Us 3 or not. I imagine so. The Last of Us 2 doesn't end in a very
Let's be honest, it's going to be a question of how
place.
successful that the show is.
Yeah. So, again, The Last of Us, there's not... I hope you don't want, like... The Last of Us is a sad universe. It's very, like... There's not a lot of happiness to be gained. Even, like...
But you said the second game kind of ends on kind of a satisfactory note, or no?
No, not really. I mean...
For what? I mean, obviously, without giving it away, no spoilers.
It's very human. Like, The Last of Us is about, like, just, like... It's not, like... It kind of almost turns away from, like, these over-the-top, like, narrative, like, moments. And it just goes down to very, like, human, like, selfish, like, realistic... like familiar human emotions and reactions to things, like and I'm more saying like because the second game isn't nearly as beloved as the first one, just because and again and rightly or wrong, I'm not even sure. I haven't played the second game through for myself, but I do know that. And again, I actually really can't talk about it.
Well, then let's not talk about it. Let's not waste any more time on it. I guess the thing is, it'll be interesting too. Like from a practical filmmaking or television production process, I don't know how much Pedro Pascal signed on for. Like I don't know what his contract is. Nobody really knows. I'm sure they could renegotiate that. But let's be honest. Like he's like a really popular dude right now. He's in a lot of things, so I'm not sure how much they can keep him around. Like,
again, I don't want to
because he has that. He has Mando.
You're going down a way. I can't answer your question.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying,
it's too related to like where the story is going to go. Right. So I like for to answer some of these questions. Unfortunately,
all right, well then let's move on. It's probably better that we don't kind of get into that. Oh, hey,
and again, like there's weirdly enough though, Last of Us 2 is like in game is like multiple years, like 5 or 6, I think. Like Ellie ages up to like 19 or 20, if I remember correctly, like from where she is in the first game. I mean, like if you didn't think Ellie was going to survive, I don't know what to tell you, but
okay,
it's like, but maybe she will. I don't know. You know, maybe they'll change it, or maybe we'll just cut this part out. Who knows? What are you doing? Let me look it up.
I just want to. So as we wrap up the episode, I want to give a shout out to a new podcast that got started here at Emerge. It is called the 716th Attack Legion.
The 716th.
The 716th Attack Legion. Yeah. So it's obviously a Star Wars based podcast. Featuring Christian, one of our guests, one of your best friends your best friend all time, Jack Shirella, some former students from Niagara Falls High School that are one's slightly older than you, one's many years older than you. Jordan Kinney and Julian Lewis are the main panelists on the show. For some reason, they want me to appear, which I think is ridiculous. But that show's gonna kind of move around a lot. We're gonna try to bring in different people at different times. But you've got your main 4 panelists, and obviously it's kind of cool because they did a whole thing where it's
Yeah,
We're
we recorded our first episode a couple days ago. I think it's already out, actually.
It's already out on YouTube.
So I'm sure we'll link that somewhere below. Or
yeah, it's on
in the
there.
description
It's
or
on
something.
YouTube. It's also on the same network. If you're on YouTube,
same network.
it's on the same network. So if you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple, or bicbp.radio.com, if you just look for the 7/16th Attack Legion, the logo's really cool. It's a what is it? It's a
clone helmet.
it's a
iconography.
It's it's the clone helmet, and it's kind of got some Buffalo Bills.
Red and blue inspired.
Yeah, the 716 is our zip code, which a lot of people use for things.
And that's what.
But it turns out there actually was a 7.
I don't even actually know if there was a 716.
We found it online.
I don't know if it.
It may have been extended universe.
I think it's mentioned. It might be extended universe, and if it's Israel, then it's either. I remember I found like a Wikipedia article for it, but that doesn't exactly mean that it existed.
Well, it's better than not finding it at all.
It might have been mentioned like
It's
in
not
a single line of a book.
But to be honest, it doesn't really matter
it doesn't
because
really matter.
it was. We were just glad that it actually was a 7/16. So that was kind of fun. So it's not going to be a weekly podcast. I think we're going to kind of do like twice a month, or we might take multiple episodes when
It
we
might
take.
pick up more in the future.
Yeah,
but-
like as we get going on it. I liked it. I liked the content. I think it was a good episode.
Yeah, the
first episode was really good.
About our like overall
kind of what you
thoughts
guys
and introduction to
like,
Star Wars
and
stuff.
I
yeah,
think
what our
it's-
own interests and characters
Yeah.
and like movies we like.
I
Some
think
of the
the
things that we're
dynamics-
not as happy about in recent years.
I think the dynamic's going to be really good because I think you got a nice mixture of people that have different, like
yeah, we have a
opinions
good mix of
and
personalities, good mix of like
you're not all
related
going
to different
you
things.
guys, I think
so-
there's going to be some really good arguments on the show about, because you guys definitely are coming from different standpoints of what you like within the universe. So I think but you're really respectful in terms of the way you kind of understand why somebody else has those positions. So, so check out the 7/16th Attack Legion. It's a new podcast. Eventually, we're building a really cool set for that one, which is going to be kind of very Star Wars-y. So we're building an additional. Actually, Christian and I are going to start the
couple more sets to
process
build,
about building 2 more sets. We're actually have a couple more podcasts coming out already. I'm working with people all the time. So again, if you're interested in podcasting, really hope that you reach out to us through MarantoMedia.com or if you're on Facebook, Maranto Media, or Emerge, a Media Creators Co-op, which is where we tape all our episodes. So anything else there, Sunshine?
Nope. I think that's it.
You did a great job again today. I'm very
Shut up,
proud of you.
bitch.
Now you're
It's
grounded for calling
No,
me a bitch.
Yeah, all right.
I'm not a bitch.
I'm just
You're a
gonna move out.
bitch.
I'm just gonna- it's
Yeah,
like,
Wait. Say that again. Out loud. Say it. You're gonna move out.
Yep.
Okay, everyone. That's I got.
Get away from you finally.
You say when? Not anytime soon, right? I think you're just waiting me out.
I'm
You're just
waiting
gonna
you
wait
out.
and just take the freaking house.
Yes, better take
you
the
and the
deed.
dog.
Take the deed. Take this.
I mean,
The
one of these
land
days
deed?
we're
What is
bringing
it, 1840? Like what?
1840. Yes.
Like a land
How
deed.
old do you think I am? So, shout out to your dog Echo, which is totally a Star Wars name, which
Yeah,
is
she has
awesome.
the same color armor.
One of these days, Echo's coming on the show. So
I should bring Echo.
We
She
should
won't
bring
sit
Echo.
still, but actually she might.
she'd get bored.
I could put her in that chair next to me, and she'd probably sit still.
Got to bring her a lot of snacks or something. She said, "Oh."
Yeah, I was gonna
so-
put her here next time.
All right.
Sit her down.
All right, everybody. We really do appreciate all the support and everybody coming around and checking out our podcast. Our numbers are always
And
really
yes,
good.
I did name my female dog after a male cartoon clone trooper.
Good for you.
So
it's
there is that. I guess it's also a mythology thing too, but still.
Yes. Okay.
Get this damn camera shot of me.
All right.
This damn-
We are done. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with another exciting episode.